Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and our continuing series on the Sega Dreamcast, Hikaru and NAOMI, and today we're taking a look at Cannon Spike, released by Psycho and Capcom. Now this is an absolutely outstanding, fun, very unique game, but I will start off the video by saying, do not buy this for Dreamcast. It is about $300 for a US copy and over $100 for a Japanese copy, and in neither version is this game worth that money. Now if you're a completionist, you need a full set, of course you're going to buy it, but if you're looking for a semi-hidden gem status game for the Dreamcast, this is not where you want to spend your cash, but you definitely should play it, and that's why I'm going to show it to you and talk about the game itself, because this is really a mix between like an arcade twin stick shooter and a bullet hell shmup. Now it's not really either, but it's both at the exact same time, but this is just going to be using classic Capcom characters and environments to give you this awesome twin stick shooting sort of experience. In some way it plays like a Capcom version of Smash TV, that's the closest game I could compare it to, but you'll see here, it is very simple to learn. We have a gun, we have a sword, and we have a power-up gunshot. And you'll see there in the top left-hand corner we have different specials, one of which I just totally wasted in the wrong direction. And you can totally do that with your specials. You have to be facing the right way. This is a game where you need to deal with spatial awareness and where you are on the screen at all times, because you're going to do better or worse depending on how well you're controlling your character. But it is really easy to be able to play and to understand. And this first area here definitely feels very much inspired by Resident Evil, and you're going to see that throughout the entire game. Capcom and Psycho using a lot of those older Capcom games, those existing franchises, to build the world of this game. It came out on the NAOMI first and was ported to Dreamcast, and it was late enough in the lifespan that not a ton of copies of this game were made, therefore it does command those prices of $300 and over for a North American copy and $100 for a Japanese copy. Now I own it, but I've owned it for years, and trust me, I did not pay anywhere near that for my copy. I think I got this on eBay 7 or 8 years ago, a Japanese copy, for maybe like $20 to $30, and I am playing the English version on my GDEMU just so you can see, you know, what it is. I mean, honestly, there's very little English involved in the game whatsoever, but I figured for ease of use I'd show it to you that way. But mechanically, it's a very unique game because it has the twin stick shooter feel, but as you get closer into seeing more of the later bosses, which I will show you, there's a lot of bullet patterns that you need to avoid and navigate throughout. Now, unlike a bullet hell shmup, your hitbox is much larger, so sometimes it can feel slightly unfair, but honestly, I was almost able to beat this game with the amount of credits it starts you with on normal mode. And that's why I tell you guys, don't spend $300 on this game to play it, because if you're playing well, you can beat the entire thing in under 20 minutes. There is not much replay value whatsoever in it. But you'll see here as we get towards the later bosses, it is a lot of fun, and for the 20 minutes you're going to be playing the game, you're going to have a great time the entire time you're interacting with it. It's unique, and that's what I love about it, because the closest game on Dreamcast to this feels to me like is Zombie Revenge, but it's definitely better than that game. I enjoy Zombie Revenge, but this is going to be definitely what I want to pick up and play if I have the choice between the two. But like I said, 20 minutes does not beget the price that they're asking for this, so unless you need to complete a whole collection or your daddy warbook and money is no object, there's a lot of different ways to play this. Now, I can't link them to you, but you can definitely get the ISO to this. You can get a GDEMU, you can emulate it. You don't have to pay the money, because this is the only other platform it's available on outside of the NAOMI. And honestly, buying a NAOMI cartridge is about the same price as the Dreamcast version, so you could go that route too. But I like here that you get Fallen Balrog. You're even getting Street Fighter characters in the game. This is kind of just a classic hits of the Capcom franchises. They're going to be bringing in a lot of different art assets and a lot of different characters from those famous Capcom games that you've played before. And leave me a comment if you know where Big Wheel is from to see, you know, who's watching and who knows. But you'll see here, now that bullet hell mechanic's coming in, and we did use our first continue, you get bullet patterns that are hard to avoid, but when you're playing well, are avoidable. And that's the great thing about this game, is that when you're playing well, when everything's clicking, you can feel invincible. What I'm going to let you do is just listen to a little bit of the soundtrack and the sound effects. They are quite good, and I'll be back in about a minute, and I'll tell you more why this game's 100% worth playing and 100% not worth paying for. But I'll be right back. It's pretty hilarious. I do cut them out in editing, but when a level ends, it just fades to black and the music abruptly stops, and then the next stage starts with after a 10-second static no music loading screen. It's the cheapest arcade conversion possible because this game is basically identical to the NAOMI version. They didn't really add anything in. They didn't even give you any music in the loading screens. But this is the type of game, it appears simple, but there is a lot of item management in it, because what you really want to do is save those supers for as long as you can, and you want to beat these scrub enemies just with your normal gun, the charge shot, or your blade, because the more supers you're bringing into boss battles, the easier they are going to become. As you'll see here with Flying Fortress Kabuki, and I do love that name, one super and we took over half the life bar away. Had I saved one more super, I could have destroyed him without ever having to take a single hit, and that super management is going to be a big component of the game, and this has speedrun candidate written all over it. But I do like how it does play around with the genres. You know, normally it's a twin stick shooter, but now we're into total shmup territory. We have this chaotic bullet pattern coming out. We have our enemy at the top of the screen, and they're going to move around. This is just for like 30 seconds, a traditional shmup. And I like that they did play around with that. Now I wish they did it a little bit more, and I certainly wish this game was longer, even if I did pay a lot less money for it than they're currently asking for it now. Even I think that they could have added some longevity to the console conversion. And I can see why this didn't sell very well when it came out, and it's not as fondly remembered, because if you bought this for $50 back in the day when it released and you saw the credits scroll by in 20 minutes, you would probably be pretty bummed out too. But now with the ability to emulate, with the ability to play, you know, ISOs off an optical disc emulator, being able to experience smaller games like this is a lot more fun because you're not heavily investing in them, and that's why this is on this list. This is definitely, for me, hidden gem status. Is it the best game on Dreamcast? Definitely not. Is it worth the money that they're asking for? 100% no. Are you going to have a lot of fun playing this game? You definitely are, and if you play with two players, it gets harder, it gets more chaotic, and it gets more fun as well. But this is the type of game that you don't get too much of anymore. This definitely had its time and place in the 2000s on a system like the Dreamcast. And you'll see again with Insect Robo Overlord, at least the first phase, 2 supers and his life bar was almost over. Now I should have used one more versus rushing in to use the sword, and that's where a lot of the strategy of the game comes from. You need to learn what enemies you can just, you know, kind of body and beat up with that weapon and totally destroy them, and you have to decide when you want to stay back and be able to more manage your distance with that gun, because you'll see here we do take a couple hits off that bullet pattern, but we had almost made it through unscathed. And because attacker Antonio is elevated in the sky, sometimes those supers aren't going to be effective and you're not going to be able to hit him with them. But there's more of the characters than who I'm showing you right here. Simone is just a character for the game, but you have an awesome hulked up version of Arthur from the Ghouls and Ghosts franchise, and there is a lot of diversity in how each character plays, so I like that. And I even like that we have to fight robots while also fighting an organic alligator at the same time. The game is definitely fun, and you're going to have a ton of fun playing it. But you'll see now that I do have those 6 supers, and if we do, you know, really good item management, there you go. You can just destroy a tank in one shot, and then just deal with the lower level enemies, just swiping at them with that blade and conserving your supers for a later date. But yeah, Cannon Spike is a really fun game and it's definitely worth checking out. But had I bought this back in 2000, I would have been disappointed, because you can beat this game in less time than it would have taken you to drive to the store and back. And since I grew up in Vermont, it would have taken me like 4 times as much time to drive to the store and back as it would have to beat the game. Even with the limited amount of continues or credits that it's going to give you, I almost made it to the very end playing, and if I played maybe 1 or 2 more times, I would have been able to 100% complete this game from start to finish. And when you're not paying for it, that doesn't matter whatsoever. It's a great experience. If you buy this for $300 on eBay expecting a lot of playtime, you're going to be sorely disappointed. So my recommendation on this game is 100% play it, just don't spend all the money to collect it. But even here, Jungle Master Sasuke, a lot of fun enemies, a lot of fun bosses, and this game just has that classic late 90s, early 2000s arcade feel that I love on the Dreamcast and the NAOMI. But short of that, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'd love to know if you've ever played this game before, if you own a copy, and what you paid, because I always love hearing who collects what and why. Short of that, we'll be back next Tuesday with another episode in our Dreamcast Hikaru and NAOMI series, and I will have videos on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday as well. But you'll see here we're getting really close to the end, and I have no continues left, and I finally succumb to the enemies. And the game definitely gets harder as it goes on, and I game over, but if I played this, like I said, 1 or 2 more times, I would 100% see the ending, no big deal. But like I said, I love this game. It's definitely worth checking out if you've never played it before. Find a way to play it. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear it. See you guys next time. Bye bye.